Mr. Huffman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I oppose this bill as another attempt by the majority to, unfortunately, weaken Bedrock environmental laws. Now, since becoming ranking member of this committee, one of my top priorities has been working to address the wildfire crisis through science-based policies that reduce hazardous fuels on our national forests, build more resilient communities, and ensure the public has a real voice in decision-making. Communities don't just need resources, they also need to be meaningfully engaged in a transparent process, one that reflects local knowledge, tribal input, and diverse community needs. That's why I introduced a bill we call the Community Protection and Wildfire Resilience Act to equip communities with the tools and the resources necessary to promote safe, resilient, and fire-adapted neighborhoods through a small d democratic process, not through top-down mandates or one-size-fits-all formulas. And that's exactly the opposite of what this bill does. This bill would undermine NEPA under the guise of wildfire mitigation and fuels reduction, but the truth is, NEPA already allows the use of categorical exclusions for federal actions with limited environmental or public health impact. In fact, according to the Forest Service, about 85% of all forest management projects currently use those categorical exclusions. So this tool is available where it makes sense. There's no credible need for broader authority, especially when this administration is already taking a chainsaw to NEPA by slashing environmental review, sidelining science, and cutting the public out of the process in so many ways. The purpose of NEPA is simple: to make sure we look before we leap. And that principle is more important than ever as we confront the escalating impacts of climate change. This bill would override what remains of the Forest Service's existing review process for forest management projects by mandating the use of categorical exclusion for projects covering an area up to 10,000 acres, regardless of how large the public health and environmental impacts are of each project. Now, 10,000 acres, that's about 15 square miles. It's roughly the size of my hometown, of San Rafael, which is a city of about 54,000 people. And it may seem small compared to the scale of our vast national forest system, but it is a substantial area, certainly large enough to warrant a more careful and open review process than what a categorical exclusion provides. But instead, this bill would allow these projects to move forward with minimal review and public input in every case. I have great interest in increasing the pace and scale of restoration, including through the use of prescribed fire, cultural burning, and even mechanical thinning, Mr. Chairman, in appropriate places, but giving the Forest Service a green light to cut corners for significant forest management projects in every case is not the way to go. Now, I understand that this bill is based on authority that Congress previously provided for the Lake Tahoe Basin. And I share an interest in improving environmental review and permitting wherever we can. But as a reminder, that categorical exclusion was part of a broader package that also included additional funding to address the challenges that that area faced. You know, Democrats secured more than $5 billion for federal forest management and wildfire-related programs in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill that most Republicans on this committee voted against, and also another $1.8 billion for fuels and vegetation treatment in the Inflation Reduction Act that all Republicans voted against. These investments were supported by another $1 billion for permitting capacity improvement and streamlining. And these measures made a huge difference. They helped the forests achieve record levels of hazardous fuels reduction and prescribed burnings, numbers that I should note the Forest Service is nowhere near replicating this year under the chaotic and demoralizing leadership of the Trump administration. There's a better way forward here, one that doesn't sideline the public or undermine science for major forest projects. I'll also note that a version of this bill already passed the House earlier this year. There are better uses of this committee's time than rehashing the same old proposals again and again. I urge a no vote and yield back.